Have you ever set a bunch of goals and then actually managed to meet them? In my last video, I set out to glow up my small business. I want to take control of my habits, treat my body better, niche down my product base, and then create products aligned with the brand that I want to create. And after 4 months of successful trial and error, I'm here to report back in. It's been a minute since we last caught up, so I wanted to take you along today to kind of show you everything that I've been working on the last several months and checking in on the goals I set back in March. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Chelsea, owner and artist and sole woman behind Petrichor & Co., a small business where I make cozy handmade goods for the wild-hearted homebody. If you're the type to rotate through 5 hobbies and are just as likely to go on a hike as you are to read a book, then you're in the right place. Since my last video, I have made and published 30 new products, built and launched my own website, developed my wholesale catalog, and started reaching out to potential stockists. I cannot believe, frankly, I've been so ridiculously busy. It's been a lot, but now that the sprint is over, I finally have some time to kind of regroup and rest and catch you guys up on everything. Which is great because the one goal that I haven't met is in regard to my online presence. It's been seriously lacking recently, and we're going to remedy that. So let's have a chat while I tidy up my office after a really big production week. As you can tell, she's looking a little worse for wear. And then afterward, we're going to do a little show and tell because honestly, isn't that the thing we all miss about childhood? I'm going to let you guys know right now, if you hate yapping, just skip past this whole cleaning segment. I'm going to chat a lot, so if it's not your thing, you've been warned. Over the past 2 or 3 months, I've been super locked in, making a ton of new products, and honestly, I was enjoying it so much I couldn't bring myself to film. Part of me feels like not documenting the last 4 months was a waste, considering I want to grow so much on social media, but I don't necessarily regret it. It was nice to be in my own creative sphere without that little voice asking, is this aesthetic enough? Is this entertaining? Does literally anyone want what I have to offer? Those questions get us nowhere, and that voice saps out a lot of the joy that I get from my craft. I was trying a lot of things for the first time, like making notepads from scratch, binding journals, and crocheting book sleeves, and I wanted the freedom to be messy and imperfect without the pressure of turning it into something entertaining or consumable. It was really freeing, even if I am so behind on my content goals. On a personal note, my life has shifted into a really amazing era. In April, I turned 29, and I initially thought that I was going to really dread it, but the opposite thing happened. I was excited. As it turns out, I am so ready to be in my 30s. Additionally, despite the world being constantly on fire and so many heartbreaking things going on and just the feelings of overwhelm that I have about it on a day-to-day basis, beyond that sort of putting out fires mentality, I've been feeling incredibly grounded in my personal life. Like, could it be the regular exercise, the plant-based meals, the stable relationships, great friendships, and a daily dose of Zoloft as the cherry on top? Absolutely it is. There is no caveat or cheat code, unfortunately. As it turns out, you need things like support and community and hobbies. You don't have to play life on hard mode all the time, but you do have to be consistent with your efforts, and that's the unfortunate part. On the hobby front, I stopped taking ballet classes, which I'm pretty bummed about. It was bringing me a lot of joy, but at $160 every 5 to 6 weeks, it just wasn't sustainable for me anymore. And practically speaking, I needed to get my body to get stronger so I could really engage with the class material in a meaningful way. I will likely go back in the future once my budget isn't so tight, but for now, I'm going to be a frugal queen and pivot to a new hobby, which is sewing. I started taking one-on-one lessons at this amazing studio called That's Sew Austin, and that's sew as in SEW. And I have access to a dream studio for half the cost of ballet with the membership. It's brought me so much joy so far, and I'm really obsessed with it. Currently, I'm working on finishing my first pattern project, which is a purse. and I will definitely be showing you guys as soon as it is finished. It is by no means perfect, but it is my child, and I want to show you. In other news, I've been reading a ton. Thank you so much to the Austin Public Library. I just finished reading Quicksilver, and ladies, that is a romantasy worth reading. The world was so cool, and I really actually enjoyed the FMC, the female main character, a lot. I've been seeing a lot of feedback online about how everybody thinks that Saris is so annoying, and honestly, I don't get it. I think people are just haters, and they hate to see a slightly realistic portrayal of a complex female character, to be honest. I enjoyed her poor decision-making and her good decision-making, but I will get off my soapbox for now and instead pivot to show and tell time. Hey y'all. So it's the next day after I cleaned everything. I just kind of took the rest of the day to simmer in my organization and start editing the video a little bit. So today I'm going to talk all about the new products that I'm the most excited about. Like I said, I'm going to spare you the going through all 30 of the new ones, but some of them are different varieties of the same product, if that makes sense, like different colorways. So I wanted to kind of chat you guys through the vision that I have for this brand moving forward and how I'm wanting to address that in my products. So in my absence, I did a lot of work to try and figure out what my ideal customer is. And I landed on something that I could understand, and that is my friends. I wanted to make things that people like my friends would love and enjoy and cherish. My friends have some of the best taste, they're the coolest people, and I feel so lucky to know them. And I really wanted to be able to visualize the person that I'm making this for. And I thought that that was like a really sweet way and like human way to do it. With every product that I make moving forward, I can think of exactly which of my friends would use it. And honestly, I think that that's a really great tool to understand like who you're marketing to and like what their priorities are. If you can name a person in your life who wants or needs this product, like you know them, it is so much easier to figure out what are their needs? What do they want? I know exactly what my friends want, and it's not hard. So with that knowledge, I was able to kind of figure out like what I wanted my brand to look like and where I wanted my tagline to come from. I landed on the tag for my business, Goods for the Wild-Hearted Homebody, because I wanted to reflect kind of the duality I think that is a lot of women these days. Like we are homebodies. We love staying home, we love crafting, we love doing hobbies, we love reading, we love crocheting, like the granny hobbies, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that we just stay in our homes all the time. It does mean that we have a lot of joy when we stay home and in our curated collection of things that we have carefully bought over a number of years. But it also means like the wild heart behind it, right? The person who has this insatiable need to make things, the person who has the need to go outside and explore nature and has the ability to feel just as grounded taking a hike as they do like with their little like daily routines. And so I wanted to make products that reflected this kind of duality in people and that aesthetic duality as well. This kind of began percolating as an idea last summer. And this is when I really started getting like digging deep into like the nature element and how I wanted to make art about nature, but do it in a way that wasn't just like plain watercolor like of a flower on a white background. I wanted to do something a little bit different, even though that is exactly what I started with. I'm basic. The entire idea behind this collection is having tangible, tactile things that are really good quality. So, it's not like a Temu version of it where it's gonna cost $2. You're supporting like sweatshop labor and really unfair wage and business practices and also getting something that is crappy in quality. I wanted these things to stand the test of time, to be beautiful. And also to have that knowledge that whenever someone buys something, they are directly supporting me and my lifestyle as opposed to supporting a business who doesn't care about their workers. But I did still want to have affordable elements. I wanted to make products that were affordable to my consumer because we are 100% in a recession. And I wanted to make something that could still honor my hourly wage. So I landed on paper products because you can get paper very cheaply. The majority of the materials that I get are secondhand. I have the luxury of living in a city where we have a couple of secondhand crafting stores, and I go to those stores and clean them out, y'all. I look at the paper, I look at their fabrics, I look at all the different kinds of things that they have to offer, and I get inspired while I'm there and decide to make things based on those like thrifting treasures. Long story short, I wanted to create a bunch of these things like based on the materials that I have on hand and honor sustainability in that regard as well. So, kind of to sum up everything I've been rambling on about, I want to make goods for the wild-hearted homebody. I want to make goods for people like my friends who are have so many interests. And I also wanted to create things that are going to be sustainable and ethically produced. Additionally, I want to make things that are high quality and help, are affordable but still meet the standards for my wage. And lastly, I think that there's this simmering underneath the pervasiveness of like the internet and our digital culture. I think that there's this like very subtle movement that is starting to occur where people are wanting to get back to like analog things, right? Things that we can cherish and collect. The first things that I made on the stationery front are recipe cards. I had a lot of thoughts about making these because I know we're like in an increasingly digital age, and I know that the majority of the way that we get recipes these days is not necessarily cookbooks. It's going to be like Instagram, it's TikTok. We get these like influencer recipes like straight in our algorithm. We say that sounds delicious. I want to try that, and then you can never find the recipe ever again, despite having saved it. That coupled with when I was a little kid, my grandmother, like not to get too heavy, she was okay after this for a while, but she got cancer, and her entire thing was like she wanted to leave the legacy of her recipes with her grandchildren. So she made me this entire recipe box full of her recipes. And that is something that I cherish so much. It is something that like, when like life's getting a little hard, I will turn back to these recipes and they feed my soul a little bit. And I think that that's something that's lost in the digital space where we do is collect recipes from the internet and they live on our phones. And so I was thinking it would be really nice to have a modern approach to recipe cards. These are my solution. So this is my little recipe card. It's actually quite minimalist for the style that I usually go for, but I thought it was a modern interpretation of a recipe card. Now, in tandem with the recipe card, I also decided to do a cocktail recipe card. So again, I make products for my friends. One of my best friends, she is a cocktail enthusiast. She is that girl. She loves to make like the dirtiest martini you've ever had. She loves to make like gin and tonics, but she also likes to make a fun cocktail too. And so I was making these with her in mind. Additionally, I used to be a bartender, and whenever I was learning new cocktails, because every time you go to a new bartending job, you have to learn like 12 to 15 new cocktails. I would write it down to memorize it exactly the way that I put it on this card. I just thought that that would be like a fun little addition to the previous thought of wanting to collect recipes and keep them in a safe way. Should I do like little recipe boxes one day? That would be fun. I don't know much about woodworking, but my boyfriend does. So maybe I could ask him about it. Going on with the stationery thing, I started hand making notepads. The idea struck me when I went to my local like crafting secondhand store, Austin Creative Reuse. I want to do a video there so bad, you guys. It's my happy place for sure. I will literally go in there with the biggest Diet Coke I can find, pop in a little audiobook, and spend about 4 hours there looking in every single nook and cranny. But anyway, so I was there a couple months ago and they had stacks on stacks of really gorgeous, cool paper. It was a little too flimsy for using in like some journals, which I'm workshopping right now. But they were like a little too nice to be like journal paper. So I said, okay, like what's a happy medium where we can appreciate the paper and give something useful to people. So I decided on notepads. I really experimented with like what ink I thought looked best on the certain papers, and this is where I landed. I have paper that has nice black speckles on it, and I decided that black ink would be the prettiest. And then I also have this kind of like wavy paper. It almost looks like they're like clouds or something. And I decided on blue ink for these. So the motif on the top where it says notes is reoccurring in all of them. And then I also have either lined or unlined versions. Now I don't have a whole lot of these, but I did just recently take another trip to Austin Creative Reuse, and I got paper to work on some more options for the notepads. The notepads are always going to be like dead stock paper. There's not going to be a way for me to really find them ever again. So once they're gone, they're gone. But I think that's kind of like a special part about it, is because I am prioritizing using so many secondhand materials that these things truly are kind of one of a kind and special. Moving on from there. So again, I make products for my friends. What do all my friends do, including myself? We read. We're big readers. These bookmarks that I'm going to show you first, weirdly, are over a year in the making. Last summer, I knew that I wanted to kind of like transition to a new style for my business, because I'd just been making things on Etsy that were like drop shippable and like, just easy peasy lemon squeezy stuff. And I decided that I wanted to put like some of my actual creativity and artwork and effort into it. I initially started playing around with watercolors, and I absolutely loved the idea of doing like hand painted bookmarks. I thought that would be like something really fun. Little did I know, we hit a recession, didn't we? So I was like, okay, Chelsea, like no one's going to spend 100 something bucks on a bookmark. Don't be silly. Once I finished them, they were a prototype, and I figured to myself, okay, like I'll just scan these in on my really nice scanner and edit them a little bit in Photoshop. Bing, bang, boom, done, right? Not the case. Not the case, friends. I don't know the first thing about Photoshop. The learning curve was steep. It was many, many, many hours of blood, sweat, and actual tears because I got so frustrated. And then once I finally had something like a Photoshop file that I was happy with, I attempted to make them myself. And I had like such a specific vision for them, and they never turned out the way that I wanted, despite having like the best printer money can buy, like, all the time in the world. I can't tell you how much money I spent trying to make this vision translate by making it myself. For context, this is how these guys looked. These are the original painted versions. I think that they have a lot of character. But again, these scans, they weren't it. It wasn't working. So I decided to pivot. And these are actually the only products that I have outsourced in this way. Everything else I make in-house, but these products, because I had such a specific vision. And it really goes to show that you need to like value your time in a way where it's like, I can't tell you how many hours I worked on these things just to scrap the entire project and outsource it, which I should have done to begin with. As a reminder, this is what these guys looked like before, and these are the professionally produced versions. These guys, I think, are just absolutely gorgeous. The foiling looks amazing. I'm so happy that this happened. I ended up doing a vector file for these, so that way they would be as compatible like with the software as possible. And also it was kind of just a requirement for getting the foil stuff done in the first place. Let's do a little side-by-side comparison for you guys. The painted version and the produced version. Now, the produced version does have the foil. It has the rounded corners. I also added something to the back with my logo there and foil at the bottom. These turned out so good. I'm so pleased with them. And they also have just like the most buttery texture. I can't explain it other than that. It feels nice. And then a little side by side for you for these ones, like night and day difference, right? The painted version versus the digitized version. Obviously, the digitized version looks a lot more professional. And then, yeah, of course, I also put something on the back here. I did another little dragonfly and also my logo on the bottom. I took inspiration for these going back to like the wild-hearted homebody, the moody nature girl who loves reading. Like, I mean, come on, this bookmark belongs in a romantasy book. Period. It's giving The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It's giving basically anything by V.E. Schwab, I think, because she writes really moody books. I'm extremely proud of those. They were a year in the making, and just a really great lesson learned in outsourcing. Moving on, I did another bookmarks. I have a lot of bookmarks, you guys, but this one I am particularly proud of because it was the realization that I don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. And part of being a business owner for a product-based business is you need to see what's selling. So I took I researched a little bit on Etsy and found that reading log bookmarks were doing really well. And as I was looking at them, I said, oh my God, this is the perfect opportunity for my business. All of these are so minimalist and boring looking. Like, don't get me wrong, they were very nice if you love minimalist things. They were very beautiful, but I prefer my things to be a little bit ornate. So I recycled the motif that is on my notepad here at the top, and I did it for the reading log. So like the other reading logs, it has the title, the date that you started it, date that you finished it, and then a rating situation. I thought that this would be like a really fun and beautiful way to record how many books that you've read this year. And also just kind of get like the snapshot of your Goodreads and have it on paper with something that was actually useful. Now, moving on to non-stationary items, I did recently make a print. I really want to get back into the print game. I'm so irritated, you guys. My best-selling print on Etsy is a print that I worked on in the pandemic in 2020. I literally drew it in 15 minutes, and it's the thing that sells the most. Like, I literally pour my blood, sweat, and tears and everything else, and this like 20-minute print that I made performs the best. So I do want to get more into prints because one, they're a good investment of your time product because they are evergreen. Once it is done, and you can just sell it for the rest of your life if you wanted to. So aesthetically, right, we're leaning into moody nature. We're leaning into homebody vibes. I am very, very into medieval artwork. I think it is equal parts ornate and beautiful and ridiculous. I mean, have you guys ever seen a medieval drawing of a cat? It is preposterous. So I absolutely love medieval architecture and like that kind of gothic architecture style also. And so I landed on this print right here. It took me absolutely ages to finish it, but I think with the oranges, with the night sky, with the dramatic window, I think it hits all of those boxes of like that moody nature that I was looking for. I'm incredibly proud of this print. This is a print that I will be hanging up in my own house. I just need to find a frame for it to go in. But I am so proud of how it turned out. I love symmetry in my work, so something about this just really made a lot of sense to me. So that is the little crash course on a few of my new products, and I'm like really hungry. So I'm going to go eat something. Alrighty, guys. So thank you so much for listening to this extremely, extremely chatty vlog. The next one is going to be definitely less chatty, more dewy. In the next vlog, I'm planning on making some prototypes for some journals that I want to show you guys. We're going to make more notepads at some point. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single person who has stayed till this point. Everyone gets a forehead kiss if you stayed to this point, and you get 2 forehead kisses if you share it to somebody. I don't make the rules. It's just how it is. Please share, like, and leave a comment about which product you enjoyed the most, or like what story behind the product you enjoyed hearing about the most. I'm curious. I want to know. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye for now.